I want to talk about one of the more elusive aspects of Photoshop, and that is the pen tool inside Photoshop. And, people either love the pen tool or they hate the pen tool. And it's one of these things, I'll be honest, the people that love the pen tool are the people that have really figured out how it works, they've mastered it, they understand its behavior. And the people that hate the pen tool are usually the people that haven't spent too much time using it, don't really understand where they would use it or why they would use it. So the idea here is that I want to turn you into a pen tool master. So if you've never used this tool before, or if you've struggled with this tool in the past, hopefully by the end of all of this, you'll understand exactly how the pen tool works and you'll be able to put it to good use in your own work. So the first thing that I want to do here inside Photoshop is I want to kind of give you a rough idea of how the pen tool works and some of the different things that the pen tool will create, sort of the fundamentals here. And I'm going to do so inside a brand new blank Photoshop file. So all I'm going to do is hit Command N or Control N on the Windows side, and I'm going to go and create a new document here. Very simply, just a 5-inch by 5-inch file. That's pretty much it. So I've switched my unit of measurement there to inches. My resolution is 72. That's fine for this example. RGB is fine for the color mode. Go ahead and click on OK. All right, now I'm just going to zoom in a little bit on my file. And the other thing that I'm going to do as well is I want to get rid of the panels on the right-hand side of my interface. So I'm just going to hold down Shift and hit Tab so that you and I have a little bit more screen space here. And the next thing that I'll do is I'll go and grab my pen tool out of the toolbox. Try just hitting the P key on your keyboard, and that will flip you over to your pen tool. All right, now, before we really get going with the pen tool here, we have a bunch of options running right across the top of our interface. Before I get into some of those options, I want to make it clear that what the pen tool is going to do for us inside Photoshop is create vector-based lines, arcs, curves, shapes, things like this. So if you know about the difference between raster and vector, raster of course being pixel based, which is pretty much where we've been up until this point, then you understand that world. And then the world of vector artwork of course harks to Adobe Illustrator, right? That's what Illustrator is all about. And we can also create vector based artwork using the pen tool here inside Photoshop. Okay, so using the options across the top here, what I can do right off the bat here is I can decide to create something inside Photoshop known as a shape layer. I don't like shape layers inside Photoshop. That's a personal choice. I never use them. So I want to make sure that I'm actually on the second option here, paths. That's the guy that we want to be on. So make sure that guy's turned on. And then we have some additional options over towards the right. We have the pen tool, and then we have the freeform pen tool. And then we also have some shapes as well. We have some shape tools. So you can create rectangles and rounded rectangles and ovals and polygons and all kinds of fun stuff. Perhaps you're looking towards the amoeba tool. You want to create an amoeba. That's just fine there. Anyway, I want to make sure, most importantly, that I'm on paths here and that I'm also on the pen tool. That's the important stuff. And then the next thing that I want to do is I want to start creating paths inside this blank file, right? So here's the deal. Here's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to try and keep this anyway, nice and light and simple for you. All I'm going to do with my pen tool is I'm just going to single click with my mouse. And what happens is I get a tiny dot, a tiny square sitting on the canvas. This square or this dot is what's referred to as an anchor point. If you've messed around with Adobe Illustrator and if you understand anchor points from Adobe Illustrator, it works exactly the same way here inside Photoshop. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move my mouse somewhere else and I'll single click again. And two things happen. I get a second anchor point where I clicked. And what also happens is a line is drawn between the two anchor points, kind of like a connect the dot, right? And this line is what's referred to as a path. So while you're creating objects with the pen tool, you're actually creating two items, anchor points and paths. Anchor points appear whenever you click, and paths connect your anchor points together. Something like this, right? So that's kind of the fundamentals anyway, related to the pen tool. Now you might be scratching your head going, well, this is all fine and well, but where would I actually use this? Well, we'll talk about some applications where you can apply the pen tool to your work in just a little while. But before we get to all that, I want to make sure that you really understand how to create different types of paths and anchor points inside Photoshop. So what we're going to do next is I'm going to run you through a couple of different exercises creating straight path segments and curved path segments, and I'll show you how you can also create combo paths as well. So we're going to do that next.